Now to this story in the Western Cape. Recent wildfires on Cape Town's iconic Table Mountain have endangered wildlife, vegetation and nearby homes. Both residents and hikers have raised concerns about religious ceremonies conducted on the mountain, citing a significant damage that they cause. They are now calling for the mountain to be protected. For more on this, let's now bring in SANParks spokesperson JP Louw, as well as Chief Timothy Maasdorp from the United Action Group. Chief Timothy Maasdorp, a very good morning to you. Let's start off with you. What do you make of the concerns that have been raised that the religious ceremonies that you are holding on Table Mountain lead to fires and therefore also placing the lives of the wildlife as well as vegetation in danger? What's your response to that?
You see, there's no proof. And when we keep ceremonies on the mountain, there's always safe precautions that we make sure of. And according to my knowledge, not one of us, because the intention is there for spiritual work. It's not to burn the creation, because the creation in the mountain is looking after my people for centuries. You see, so I don't know where they come on with the story that spiritual people that burn the mountain. But according to me, never in history, because our people is doing this since 1400s, 1300s, up until now. And now that the people is rising, we have to do fire ceremonies, water ceremonies, in order to heal the trauma of our people, you see. So the spiritual work is very important, and fire is a key element for us.
So you do make fires, is that it?
If we make a fire, it will be close to water. We will pack it with stones, and there's always an eye on the fire because we dance around the fire, you see. So the safety is top notch when it comes to that. And when there's wind, we don't make a fire. We will burn on paper and we will close it in cells, you see. So the safety is number one for us.
Yeah, so you're saying that the religious ceremonies that you are holding, or the cultural ceremonies, do not lead to the fires because there's the precautionary measures that you put in place. Is that the case, Chief Maasdorp?
Yes.
Okay.
For centuries already.
Okay, let's bring in a SANParks spokesperson, JP Louw. JP, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. So the concerns that have been raised by some residents as well as people who use the mountain, what has the observation of SANParks been when it comes to what happens on the mountain, and who's to blame for the fires that have broken out?
Morning, Aldrin, and also good morning to the Chief Timothy. Look, I think it's only fair to say that there are some spiritual groups that do cause fires on the mountain, but really they're at about just under 10% of the people who do cause the fire, cause fires in the mountain. And you do have various other users who uses the mountain, make fire, and even those fires at sometimes being really very highly detrimental. So if you look at it from a numbers perspective, you know, of course, 1% at times can be one too many because it can be the ignition of quite a major fire. But if you look at it from the point of numbers, Aldrin, I'd say to you that spiritual groups are like under 10%. We are continuously also seeking to engage with them to make sure that they comply with all kinds of precautions, if you like, to make sure that we don't have fires igniting on the mountain.
Yeah, and like you said, that it's one fire, one too many. Is there a legitimate claim that is being made by the residents to say that what needs to happen is that you need to have more stricter rules, and then you need to ensure that there is compliance to the rules?
I'm not sure what's meant by stricter rules. You know, Table Mountain National Park is an open access park, and it's riddled with all kinds of challenges. I mean, you may have somebody who's just doing horse riding who doesn't comply with how they must do that. You might have somebody who's walking their dog, who's not complying with what they ought to be doing. The litter that we find across the mountain, for example, the waste that we need to take care of. So there are rules. The rules are applicable to everybody universally. We don't have a one particular set of rules for one group. And certainly with the spiritual groups, we do discourage them from making fires in specific areas, which could be quite prone to fire quite easily, and also to only use particular parts of the park. When our rangers do their patrols, they do engage with groups like this. If there's no agreement between them and the rangers, we insist that then they be escorted off the mountain. But overall, really, it's a challenge. I agree, but I don't think that it can be put squarely just on the foot of spiritual groups. As I said, that they cause under 10% of the fires on the mountain.
Okay, and Chief Maasdorp, just quickly in conclusion, what do you think needs to happen now, also considering that at some point you yourself was arrested in 2021?
Yes, I was arrested, but with no evidence, you see. Like I say, there was never that of our people cause a fire, because it's so spiritual, and the intention that we go there is for healing the trauma. There's a lot of bones and a lot of negative that happened in the past. So what we go to do there is strictly spiritual, and it's to prevent any fires and all that, because the herbs and the stuff in the mountain, our people has been using that for ages. So we prevent fires, and where we make a fire most of the time would be in a cave or so. But if we make a fire, it would be close to water. So people mustn't just blame, because all the time the Indigenous people get blamed, the African people get blamed, but they take precaution, because the intention is not to burn, because the natural resources there, we make use of it.
Yeah. And JP, in conclusion on your end as well, so you have SANParks that is supposed to be managing what happens on the mountain as well. But then on the other end is the constitutional rights of groups such as the ones that Chief Timothy Maasdorp does lead. So from SANParks' side, you are saying no to an outright ban of having cultural activities and ceremonies on the mountain.
Yeah, we're very clear about that. I mean, I'm not sure if we've been aware of this initiative we're busy with called Vision 2040. And at the core of it is to say that we're moving away from the type of conservation that excludes. And we want a conservation that's inclusive, where everybody feels that they can benefit from conservation. But of course, with every right comes obligations as well. So we do engage with various spiritual religious groups. We go into the community, do all types of awareness campaigns to try and alert them to the importance of that. Much as we say a place like Table Mountain National Park belongs to us all, we all then have an obligation to look after it as well.
Thank you so much for your time. JP Louw is the spokesperson for SANParks, and then we also have Chief Timothy Maasdorp, who is from the United Action Group, on some of the calls that have been made for stricter rules or even an outright ban of religious ceremonies that include fires on a Table Mountain.